Hello, I'm Jonathan Clogston-Wilmot. I'm going to be talking to you about damp. It's a condition in Chinese medicine which causes all sorts of problems, and I'm pretty sure you suffer from them. So I'm telling you what it is, what the symptoms are, how you get it, and what you can do about it. So first of all, what are the symptoms? Well, think of it this way. It's a bit like fog. Now, if you live in northern climates, almost certainly your country has fog from time to time. Fog is a very thick mist, and it means you can't see very far. And that slows things down, and it makes things heavy, because the moisture in the air gets separated down onto your clothes and makes them swollen and heavy. So it slows things down, it makes things heavy. Remember that, and you can understand almost everything else I'm going to tell you about damp. We do actually need a little bit of moisture in our bodies. We do need it because we need moisture for our skin and for our joints and for our eyeballs and everything. So moisture is good, but too much becomes damp. And then you get the symptoms of, for example, swelling and heaviness and lethargy and tiredness. Think, if you like, that you've been playing in the garden with your children and you've been playing with a sponge, the kind of sponge that grows in under the water in hot climates. You brought one back to your country, probably against the law, by the way, but there it was. You left it out in the garden overnight, and in the morning you went out to pick it up, and instead of being light and fluffy, it's heavy. And that's what damp from the moisture in the air has done overnight. But also confused thinking. You get slow, your mind doesn't work at the same pace, and as I say, you feel lethargic. Often you feel sore, and there is swelling. Now, bruises are a form of damp, distending and painful, and worse for hanging down. So if you get a bruise on your hand, for example, you want to hold it up rather than down, because holding it up takes the bruise, the painful tissues, the swelling, the moisture that's in your hand, takes it away, whereas holding it down, of course, fills it up. So nearly always in damp, it's better to hold things up. And damp in your body tends to collect in the lower part. So you get symptoms of heaviness and fullness and swelling, edema in your legs and your lower part of the body, more than you get it in the upper part. How do you get this? Well, very often it comes from, as you would expect, wet, cold, damp conditions. You got exposed to it, you sat out in it, maybe you were in a cold draft on a damp day, maybe you sat on wet, cold grass, and this would have been all the worse if you were hot and sweaty when you did it. Because if you're hot and sweaty, what you need to do is to cover up properly with a warm, dry cloth and gradually cool down, rather than expose yourself to cold conditions, cold, damp conditions. One of the big symptoms of damp in your body is this, and think again of that fog. What happens to get rid of a fog is you need either the sun to come up and burn it off, or the wind to come up and move it away, blow it away. And in the same way, with damp in your body, what gets rid of it is warmth, like the heat of the sun. Warmth, a hot bath, anything which warms your body up almost certainly helps. And then movement, keeping moving, also helps get rid of it, like the wind blowing away the fog. So warmth and movement are really important for clearing damp, at least on a temporary basis. What are the bad habits that can lead to this? Well, the wrong foods can lead to it. There are foods which cause damp to collect in your body, and we have in fact got a page on our website of damp forming foods. Poor living conditions. If you live in a place which is damp, maybe a basement where there is a damp-proof course not working, then the walls may be damp in themselves, the wallpaper hanging off, you're living in a damp environment, you are much more prone to get damp in your body because of that. So warm foods, dry conditions to live in help. Another cause of this can be injections. Vaccinations, for example, immunizations. Where you've had the injection, you may get a slight swelling and it might be sore. That's a form of damp. And if it's sore and red, then it's probably what's called damp heat locally. Not necessarily a bad thing, by the way, because you need to have a reaction to the injection you've had. Drugs are another form, social drugs as well. Any of these can, as it were, slow your body down and cause it to be more susceptible to signs of damp. Surgery, trauma, any of these things, like bruises, can cause damp to arise in your body as well. So what to do? Well, if you have a tendency for damp in your body, and many people do because they're on the wrong medicines, or because they eat the wrong food, or because they're exposed to damp, or whatever it may be, then better food is important. Better food meaning avoiding those foods which make damp worse, and eating more of the foods which help clear it. And there are various foods which do this, but you've got to keep eating them on a regular basis. They include a list of things on our website For example, barley, scallions, bean sprouts. But if you take bean sprouts, make sure you stir fry them because they're a cold form of food, and various other things which will help too. Herb-wise, well, there's a whole host of herbs which help. Ginger is probably the most important one. In the West, rosemary, marjoram are good herbs. If you're in the Middle East, then cardamom and turmeric, curcumin, will help as well. But you've got to take these fairly regularly. You can't just take them once and hope to get better. And the final thing is chew well. Chewing is so important in so many different conditions in Chinese medicine because you've got to help your stomach work properly. If you chew well, you're grinding up the morsels of food, and that means your stomach can digest it better, and that means there's less cause for damp in your system. So, hope that helps. Nice. Thank you for listening.